Hello everyone and welcome to this event in partnership with Kingston University London. My name is Stefania and I will be moderating this webinar on behalf of Docsity. I see here on our Zoom that our first participants have joined us, so a warm welcome to all of you. We're just gonna wait a few minutes as well, and after this we can dive into our session to ensure that everyone has the chance to connect. In the meantime, don't hesitate to say hi or introduce yourself in the chat. Furthermore, we're curious to know where are you joining us from, so please take a moment to share your location here in the chat. And thank you for being here, and we will start shortly. In the meantime, I wanted to inform you that we got a Q&A session lined up after this session. So this is your chance to ask your questions to our panelists. So don't be shy, go ahead and type your questions and curiosity here on Zoom. We will answer them after this session. So if you're interested in receiving the certificate of attendance issued by Docsity, stay tuned because we will give you more information after the session. And now, talking about the lineup, today is a masterclass. So we will learn more about entrepreneurship. Dwain Reed, our panelist and student enterprise manager, will give you insights for aspiring entrepreneurs, talking about ideas, contests, coaching, incubation space, and startup. So if you're interested in this, please wait till our presentation because we will discover the secrets of transforming your innovative ideas into thriving startups and gain insights into the vibrant entrepreneurial landscape in the UK. So thank you for being part of this event, and thank you, Dwain, to be here. And without further ado, let's get started. So Dwain, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Just making sure everyone can hear me. Is that right? Everyone can hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Perfect. Hi, so my name's Dwain Reed. I can see I've got Tanya, I've got your name on my face, which is quite interesting. I'm not sure how that's worked. But clearly Zoom is having fun with us today. That's good. So welcome. Oh, perfect. Yay. Admin sorted it out, and now my name's changed to Dwain Reed. I love that. So my name is Dwain Reed, and I'm from Kingston University. What I'm going to do to help me out is I'm going to share some slides that will help me through a presentation. So let's get some slides up. Right, perfect. Right, so a little bit of a background as to who am I for, I guess a little bit of credibility, a little bit of just to make you understand why I speak about and why I love entrepreneurship. So my name's Dwain Reed, and I'm the Student Enterprise and Entrepreneurship Manager at Kingston University. So I've been working for Kingston for probably about 13 years now, and in enterprise education itself for 15 years. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about, the exacts of the Kingston University story as I go on. But a little bit about me. My background in entrepreneurship is as an actual entrepreneur, so I'm not an academic. So what I speak about comes from experience of myself doing it, or people from my network that are more successful than me in entrepreneurship, them doing it themselves. And I sort of like pass on my learnings to anyone that's willing to listen. So that's you guys today. So I grew a childcare business in the UK, so in London, in the borough that I represent, and it became the biggest childcare business in that borough. So that's kind of like my claim to fame. And then I went on to, or I still continue to help other entrepreneurs trying to either start businesses or grow their current businesses. And some of the people that I've worked with, either at Kingston University or outside of Kingston University, have gone on to raise, up to millions in funding or exited their business successfully. So anyone in the chat that's got thoughts of running a business, hopefully you're planning to exit that business too, either by selling it or passing it down to your family. So I've helped lots of people do that already. And I was also a government advisor, okay? So a government advisor for entrepreneurship in the UK, okay? So I sat on a panel that was advising the whole of the UK on how to run entrepreneurship programs. And of course, as well, I speak internationally. So, I've been to places in Africa and Asia, speak about entrepreneurship, either how to start a business or how to run a program. Okay. I think this might have voice in the background. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I hadn't played that before. But just a few kind of like notes from what I wanted to speak about is that King's University is one of the top 5 universities in UK for 21 subject areas. So this isn't really about a sell for King's University. I think it's good to set some context. We've got over 140 countries represented on campus. And I think it works out as roughly about 30% of our students are international. One of the things that we're working on quite hard is embedding future skills across the curriculum. So what I'm going to be speaking about for the majority of this presentation is how Kingston University do entrepreneurship. And we would consider entrepreneurship or enterprise skills as an important part of future skills. And that's what we're trying to embed in all students' curriculum, like across the university. So what's enterprise education and what's that about? Why enterprise education? We think that our role is to help students, I put help you, but help students to develop future skills through problem solving, innovation, enterprise, and entrepreneurship activity. As this was mentioned in the slide before, we're one of the top universities in the UK for graduates that go on to start up a business, and we have been so for over 10 years now. And this year, so actually tomorrow, we're going to find out, we've been shortlisted for the Entrepreneurial University of the Year. So what we do in entrepreneurship is well renowned. So why do we do what we do? I'm going to kind of give a few bullet points, and then I'm going to kind of go into, well, what does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? So bear in mind, these are the UK stats, okay? So I'm talking about our home-based population really, but 85% of UK employees are interested in starting their own business. So the majority of people within the workforce are sitting there at some point thinking they want to start a business. So just as I'm going through the kind of like slide deck, it'd be quite good to know from the audience in the chat. So anyone in the chat, anyone listening, have you thought about running your own business before, or you could be already running your business? So if you already run your business, or you're thinking about self-employment, or have run a business before, just give me a yes in the chat, just so I know, the type of people we've got in the chat. To see yes in the chat would be good. So a Y or a yes, that'd be great for me to know. I can already see someone's put so yes. So Adil, thank you very much. Sorry, Hassan, sorry. Sibling, thank you very much. So good. So I'll just wait for a few more. Just put a yes in if you've ever thought about running your own business, or already run your own business, or anything to do with self-employment. So 85% of people in UK employment are thinking about starting their own business. In terms of the UK, and now I can't wait for this year's statistics. This year's statistics isn't quite out yet, but last year there was 93 businesses started. Sorry, there were 93 businesses created every hour in the UK. And in total, 402,000 business registered between January and June. So the first half of last year. Okay, so soon we'll know the entire stat for what was done in 2022, okay? So, there's a massive appetite for entrepreneurship or starting a business in the UK, as I'm sure there probably is globally. But the statistic that we've all got to try and, or people in my field have got to work on, is over 60%. So over 60% of the businesses fell in the first 3 years. Sorry, my slides are going before me. 1 in 5 of them in the first year. So if 100 people were to start a business today, only 40 of them would exist in 3 years' time. Crazy statistic, okay? So we're trying to improve this statistic, try and make more people be successful in starting or growing a business. And so let me tell you a little bit of the things that Kingston University do. So we do hackathons, so we do problem-solving activity, where we invite organizations, small, medium, and large organizations, into the university, and they propose challenges for our students. And we think that our students need to use entrepreneurial or enterprising thinking to come up with solutions to some of these problems. So we had about 3,000 students involved in hackathons last year, over 119 events, 15 companies were engaged, and about 116 volunteers. we run a competition called Bright Ideas. So Bright Ideas is our ideas competition. And for most of our students, we consider this the start of their entrepreneurial journey. For the competition, we ask students to articulate a solution to a problem that they've identified. The reason why we do that is we say that every good business, and this is good for anyone that's thinking about entrepreneurship, every good business starts with being able to solve an identified problem. Too many entrepreneurs, they start off thinking, what is the solution or what is a good idea? And they try to search for customers after they think of what's a good idea. You need to think about what problems exist already that you can solve with entrepreneurial thinking. Anyway, Bright Ideas. We had 700 students enter last year, and that was about 276 entries. In total, we awarded about over 9,000 of prize money. So we have 7 categories in Bright Ideas, and each category winner gets £1,000 and runners up get £250. And then we have other prizes as well that we connect to Bright Ideas. So we gave about £9,000 worth of prizes last year. We're well renowned for the startup support that we give. So if you're a student of Kingston University, you get access to one-to-one support from our team. There's something that we run called the Fast Track program. This is a validation program I'm going to talk about in a second. We also got the Nest, which is our incubation space. Again, I'm going to build that out. And we're proud. Unfortunately, we don't offer it. Well, it's not something anymore, but we used to offer the startup visa for international students. You can't take that route anymore if you're an international student, but there are other routes. But unfortunately, Kingston University doesn't offer endorsement. Whilst you're at Kingston University, we're big promoters of learning by doing. So whilst you're at Kingston University, if you're involved in our program, especially our main program, the Fast Track program, you'll learn how to assess the feasibility of a startup. You'll successfully launch a startup. You'll critically and creatively think about business modeling and planning, and you'll reflect on and assess your own enterprise ability. So last summer, we had 12 ideas on the Fast Track program, and 4 of them are still pursuing their idea. And literally last night, I've used this slide from a presentation I did a few days ago, but last night, 4 of the ideas were presenting for £10,000 seed funding. So again, another thing that the university does is it gives some seed funding for ideas to get off the ground. So it looks like, well, not looks like, we've chosen who our winner is, but it's not public information yet. So I'm not even going to share it. But one of our graduates is going to be the successful recipient of £10,000 seed funding. So we run the validation program called the Fast Track program, and successful let's just call them graduates. So people that do the program and complete the validation, they're able to then join what is our incubation space. So our incubation space has a dozen startups that we're closely supporting, encouraging them to get to the next level of startup. Okay, so as I conclude the presentation, I'm going to speak about some of the things that I think it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. I'm just letting you know about all of the things that are on offer and what we run at Kingston University. So let's give that quick guide to being successful. Now, using the chat, I want to get a little bit of engagement from you guys. So using the chat, if you haven't started a business, but you're thinking about it, or if you talk to some of your peers and they want to start businesses, but they haven't quite started a business yet, what are some of the reasons that they give? So just put those in the chat. So what are some of the reasons why it might not be good to start or work on a business idea? So if you don't mind, like, could you put some answers in the chat to me? You know, what might be some of the good reasons, some of the reasons why people are not pursuing ideas? And if you're thinking about starting a business and you haven't done anything about it yet, then maybe you can put your reason in the chat. So why are you not doing anything just yet about your ideas? So Marianne has put that she's here to learn about how to run a business. That's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, so money. Okay, so Marianne has put money. That's one reason. Okay, so Taban thinks maybe their business idea might not be unique. Paolo, thank you very much. And I hope I'm pronouncing you guys' names correctly, guys. So Paolo is saying that maybe they're looking for access or need access to premium resources. Hassan has put lack of government support. Elmezio, you may need to build on that a little bit. So what do you mean by give solutions? Sibling is saying that, or maybe they haven't identified the right problem. Some good contributions there, guys. I really do appreciate it. I don't want to talk at you for the whole session. I just want a few of your thoughts about things. This is a good start. So thank you very much, guys. I'm just going to see if there's maybe one more coming into the chat, but thank you very much, Mariani, Taban, Paolo, Hassan, Almezio, and Sibling for your contribution so far. I really do appreciate that. All right, so I'm just going to move on. So those are some good ideas, okay? So I'm just going to go through some that are common, okay? So one of the reasons that people say that, it's not a good idea to start their business is because they sometimes say, well, Dwain, I want to start a business, but I just don't have time. Now, guys, I've got to delete this excuse for us because we all have a lot of time. But what happens is sometimes prioritization of time isn't done very well. Or another way of looking at it is sometimes people think you need more time than you actually need. So I'm not going to talk about you guys. I'm going to talk about myself. Okay, I'm going to talk about myself. Now, I'm in a fortunate position where I've got a good job at Kingston University running the entrepreneurship stuff. I also run coaching and consultancy outside of Kingston University. So I'm very busy. So often I say to myself, I just haven't got the time to do what I need to do, okay? Often I say it to myself. But then when Arsenal Football Club are playing, I can find 90 minutes or even more to watch a football match whenever it's on. Does that make sense? So I'm saying that I don't have no time, but then when something that I like comes on the TV or comes out on cinema, or sometimes when my friends want to go out, I say, I've got time. So sometimes it's just about how we're using the time. Okay, so sometimes it's about how we're using the time. And also, one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs do, or a lot of creative people do, is sometimes they're trying to do too much in the time that they do have. Sometimes it's okay to say to yourself, today, I'm just going to achieve one thing. And that's good. Just achieve that one thing and you've moved forward with your business. All you need, I say to entrepreneurs, all you actually need is momentum. The major thing that you should be working on if you're trying to grow your business is that word momentum. Because once you've got some momentum, it's easier for things to go. So your momentum affects your confidence. So if you're moving forward, then you'll be a little bit more confident. And then if you're a little bit more confident, you will continue to move forward. So I just want you to put a 1 or a Y in the chat. So Y for yes, if you understand what I'm saying so far on time and momentum. Just a 1 or a yes or a Y in the chat, just for speed, okay? So I just want to make sure everyone understands. So 1 or a Y in the chat. Hassan, thank you very much. Hassan, you're going to have to teach me. Your response time is very quick. So good, Hassan. Paolo, thank you very much. So that's the first thing we've got to understand, okay? Time, you do have enough time. You just have to probably manage your time a little bit more so there's focus on, the business or whatever it is that you're. And when I say focus, I don't mean you need to just be doing business for 24 hours a day. That's not what I'm saying, okay? You just find a little bit more time. And guys, if you've got any specific questions about running a business, please put them in the chat, okay? So when I'm finished, I'll do a Q&A and I'll answer some questions. But if you've got any specific questions, just put them in the chat. So what's the second thing that people, oops, my slides are going crazy. What's the second thing that people say? People often say to me, but Dwain, I can't start a business because I don't have enough knowledge on running a business. Or even worse, they say, I'm not the, let me say, type of person to run a business, okay? I'm not the type of person to run a business. Now, what does that even mean? I don't think there's a type of person to run a business. Someone that runs a business is someone that just understands, for example, they're going to produce a bottle of water, okay? They're going to produce a bottle of water and they're going to sell it at a certain price. okay? And they just need to work out, well, how do I produce this bottle of water at an affordable price? Now, anybody could be a business person, okay? And the internet, for most of us, we have good access to the internet. For most of us, okay? We have good access to the internet. So you can find out nearly anything you need to know on running a business, setting it up, getting coaching, getting mentoring. And also there will be people that have done it before within your community that you have access to. So I don't think that knowledge is a good answer to why I'm not starting a business. So me personally, I think part of the problem why people are not growing their businesses is because they're trying to be perfect, okay? And the perfect way not to start a business is by searching for the perfect way to start a business. I'll say that again. The perfect way not to start a business or be successful in business is by searching for the perfect way. There is no such thing as the perfect way. So we've got to let go of any thoughts that things are going to be perfect. And we've got to accept that along the way, we're going to make some mistakes, okay? Mistakes are a natural part of being successful. Most people are not ready to make the mistakes. They're trying to protect themselves from making mistakes so they don't move forward. But today I'm giving you permission. You are allowed to make mistakes. In fact, I encourage you to make mistakes because that's the only way that you're going to grow. Growth happens. So I'm just going to grab my phone for time. Growth happens outside of your comfort zone. Okay. Growth happens outside of your comfort zone. And do remember, guys, if you've got any questions on anything to do with entrepreneurship, just throw them in the chat. And once I've finished my few slides, I'll be answering any questions that go into the chat. So another thing that I say is your success, okay? So your success will be the direct accumulation, or will be the direct result, sorry, of the cumulative actions that you take or don't take, okay? It will be the direct result, your success will be the direct results of the cumulative. So cumulative basically means consistent, okay? So the consistent actions that you take or don't take. So what that basically means is success is in your hands. Just type me in the chat if you want to be successful. Just type me in the chat if you want to be successful. Own it, okay? Hey, I love it. But Hassan, I told you, you got to teach me. So Sivlin, Hassan, Omar Binin, Taban, good. Guys, honestly, okay, success is in your hands. And if you want to be successful, it sounds a bit crazy, but you have to go out and claim it. So anyone that just put me in the chat, that was a good first start, all right? But where do great ideas come from? Let's have a quick chat about where I think great ideas come from, okay? I don't think that great ideas come from that moment in the shower. You know, I don't think you're in the shower one day and then bang, just like lightning, you get a great idea. In the same breath, I don't think that there's such thing as light bulb moments. So what a light bulb moment is just like a moment of inspiration. I don't believe that successful ideas are born out of a moment of inspiration. What I actually think happens is, for a while, we're thinking about our idea and maybe something, okay, maybe something triggers us to actually do something about it. Okay, maybe something triggers us to do something about it. So I'm going to just answer Imarula's question quickly because I've seen it just pop into the chat. So I think the question is, how can we make ourselves successful? Amarula, my simple answer to this question, right, is you've got to think of yourself as successful already. So think about yourself in 10 years' time, for example, okay, as this successful person. Like, how do you think you're acting, Amarula, in 10 years' time? And in a way, you've then got to say, well, today, I've got to start those behaviors. Okay, Amarula, in a very simple answer to your question, you've got to think, what does success look like? If I'm Amarula and I'm successful in 10 years' time, what do I look like? What am I doing? And then you've got to rewind to today and say, okay, well, what action should I be taking today to encourage that success? And then you follow the path. For example, joining this webinar. Only successful people regularly learn. Okay, so you guys have all signed up to learn more information about something today. So that's a good sign. Okay, so keep on learning. So I'm just going to answer quickly Lukman's question, and then I'm going to move on with my slides. So Lukman asked, what are the legal requirements for an immigrant to bring and start his business idea in the UK? So Lukman, I'm definitely not an immigration advisor. So what I would definitely say is to seek immigration advice. I hope that makes sense from a legal advisor. But ultimately, from my knowledge, for you to come to the UK, you're definitely going to need a visa, okay, so a business visa or an endorsement to run a business in the UK. So that means that you're going to have to go to a endorsing body and convince them that your business idea is viable to run in the UK. So what they'll mainly be looking at is, firstly, if there's any validation around the idea, they'll be looking at sort of like the chances of you and or the business idea being successful in the UK. And then lastly, they'll be looking at how scalable is the idea. So Lukman, again, quick answer to your question. I'm definitely not an immigration advisor, so I'll get legal advice, or always say that, but that's just my basic answer. I hope that answers your question enough, Lukman, okay? And Amarula, I hope that your question was answered too. So I don't believe in light bulb moments. And also, I do not believe, and I stand by this, I do not believe that you need lots of cash to start an idea. I don't think you need lots of cash to start an idea. Yes, as you're growing and as you're scaling, you may need to seek investment. But at the beginning, when you're just trying to prove to people and yourself that you have a good idea, you do not need a lot of cash. You should be thinking to yourself, what can I do with the resources that I have now to get this idea going? Because in the UK and across the globe, there isn't a lack of investment money to put into ideas. What there is a lack of, though, is people with investable ideas. Just because you've got an idea that you think is good, it doesn't mean it's investable. All right, so you don't need a lot of cash. You need to start where you're at now, build your networks, because your networks might be able to give you the resource that you need. And that's the way that you will grow and scale. As I've said already, your success will be the direct result of the cumulative action that you take. Success is in your hands. You've just got to take the actions to own it, okay? You can't talk your way to success. You can't say, hey, I'm going to be successful, and then the success comes. You then need to take the actions that are required depending on what you're looking out for. So I'd always ask, for entrepreneurs or people that want to be entrepreneurs, what are you afraid of? Like, why are you not putting yourself out there and trying to do something to, increase the chances of business success? I like this. Okay, so I like this from Edison, who was the creator of the light bulb. He said he realized that he hadn't failed. Okay, so he tried loads and loads of times. He tried up to 10,000 times to get it right. So he said, I have not failed. He realized he had just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So if you've got an idea, your job is to fail as many times as possible, because each time you fail, you're getting closer and closer to getting it right. I hear a lot of people talking about, losses or L's, if you're young, L's. We're going to take L's or losses. I'm not sure how much I believe in losses. I more believe in lessons, okay? I more believe in lessons. If something hasn't quite worked out for you, what is the lesson that you can get from that, sorry. I hope that makes sense. So I've only got a few more slides left, guys. So again, if there's questions, throw them into the chat. You might want to ask about my experiences. You might want to ask about, what I think about the entrepreneurship kind of like landscape. Anything that you guys want to ask, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to give you information. So in terms of me, okay, I'm just going to give a little bit sort of like of what I think stops people from being successful. Number one. Oops, sorry, my slides are going crazy again. Number one, I think that what people are not doing is they're not going out to do what I said first at the beginning of my slides. They're not thinking about their problem that they're trying to solve. They come up with what they think is a good business idea, and they just think, oh my God, water's going to be great. I'm going to start this as a business idea. They don't think, well, how many people can I prove need more water because there's some sort of problem going on, and then start their business. So if you're thinking about starting a business, number one, think about what problems exist that you can see already, and then try to go out and create a viable solution. Okay, so think problem first. I'm going to give a few more tips. Number two, again, I said it in the presentation, not enough people are thinking about their network and the people that they already know. For some reason, when people are starting businesses, they try to start a whole new network. So they don't talk to many of their friends. They don't talk to many of their family, for example. They try to start a whole new network. There's probably people in your friends and family circle that could really help with the business that you got. Oh, great. I've got some questions coming in. Great. Oh, you guys are better than me. You've used the Q&A section. I can see it now. Right. So what key steps should I take? Oh, there you go. So somebody asked, what key steps should I take to embark on a journey? I'm answering that as if I knew that was the question. So I'm now answering that question. Good. So number one, find a problem. Number two, look around your network, okay? Who's around your network and how can they help you? For example, sorry to keep on going back to water, but if I was starting a water business, okay, what I would do is I would go around my network and I would speak to them about their current situation around buying water. So where do they get water from? How much does it cost? If they could improve anything about their experience of buying water, what would it be? I wouldn't be trying to pitch them my business or my water. Firstly, I'd be investigating what current challenges do they have in getting a supply of water. And then once I've got their notes, okay, so once I've written down their notes and their answers to my questions, I would be then investigating, well, how can I come up with solutions to the notes that they've given me? Okay, I hope that makes sense. So it's the other way around. Don't think, oh my God, I want to do this before you do thinking about problems that already exist. So problem first, network second, then thirdly, what I would try and do is I would try and build a small team around me. Okay, I'll try and build a small team around me. So I would try to find people that skills are slightly different from mine. So I'll give you an example. I'm pretty good at, I don't know, giving presentations, and I'm quite a creative thinker. If you give me a problem, I could probably come up with a solution quite quickly. Okay, I could probably come up with a relatively good solution quite quickly. That is a realistic solution. That's one of the skills that I have. I have a fantastic network. I've got a great network. I'm so thankful for my network, okay? But what I'm not that good at, okay, what I'm not that good at is I'm not that good at focusing on the fine detail. So I would say something like, let me put on an event in 2 weeks' time, but I wouldn't be good at the finer planning. So what I need someone in my team that's good at the finer planning of things. I hope that makes sense, but think about that for yourself, okay? Think about that for yourself. What skills are you less good at? So you could then find people maybe to complement those skills. And remember, at first, you're talking about your network. I hope that makes sense, okay? At first, you're talking about your network. So you're looking from your network for people that maybe want to join you. And then lastly, so this is the fourth thing. So first thing, find a problem. Second thing, speak to your network about that problem and see who exists. Third thing, try to build a team. And then fourth thing, go back and speak to as many people as possible about now this solution that you're trying to build. Okay, so you've investigated the problem, you've chosen a solution to work on based on the investigations, you've built a small team, now try and do business. That's basically my steps. I hope that makes sense. Right, going on to the next question. So, going in order. Second question is, take myself as an example. I have a lot of business ideas, how to start them all one by one. I don't have time as I'm an engineering student, less time, less resources, family. So, Kazer, I hope I'm saying your name right, okay? Firstly, don't start with negativity. Don't start with, I don't have time, okay? Kazer, you have time, okay? You have time, but maybe other things take priority. I hope that makes sense, okay? You have time, but maybe other things take priority, and that's fine, okay? So Kazer, just to answer your question, focus on one of those ideas. So Kazer, you might be thinking to yourself, well, yeah, but Dwain, what idea? I know this is gonna sound crazy, guys, but it's just a way to answer this question. Kazer, and anyone else that's in Kazer's position, that you may have more than one idea. I want you to think of it like this. Imagine, sorry, this is going to be dramatic. So people from Docsity, Stefania, you might want to close your ears. Imagine, okay, so people in the chat that might have the same problem as Kazer. Imagine me, Dwain, imagine I'm standing over you, okay? You've got your 3 or 4 ideas and I'm standing over you. I've got a shotgun and I'm about to pull the trigger. You've got 10 seconds to choose the idea that you're going to work on. And you count down, you go like 10, 9, 8. Do I want Dwain to pull the trigger? I'm sure you don't, all right? And then you just pick the idea that you would pick if you was in that scenario. Kazer, just type a yes in the chat if that makes sense, okay? Because Kazer, the only wrong decision that you're making is procrastination. Procrastination at all times is always the wrong decision. So you just choose one and you get on with it. Kazer, I hope that makes sense. Just type a yes or a Y or A in the chat just to confirm that that makes sense, okay? Choose one and get on with it and see where you go. And that's with anyone else in the chat. Use my little tactic that I just told you. So, Sandra, do you see yourself as an entrepreneur? And what inspired you to pursue this path? And guys, just in case you're wondering, these questions are coming in through the Q&A section of the Zoom. Okay, so I'm just answering each question. And I can see there's some questions in the main chat. So after I answer Sandra's question, I'm just going to answer Hassan's question. Then I'm going to go back to the Q&A. I hope that's okay with everyone. So Sandra, again, do you see yourself as an entrepreneur? So Sandra, no, to be honest with you, I think an entrepreneur probably is something that somebody else calls you. Okay, I think somebody else calls you an entrepreneur, all right? I think I just see myself as probably a business person, Sandra. Okay, I wouldn't really describe myself as an entrepreneur. What inspired you to pursue this path? Sandra, very long story for this chat, but I'll just simplify it a little bit. So Sandra, first I had a bad attitude, okay? I had a bad attitude. So first I thought, I don't want to have a boss, okay? I don't want to have a boss. I want to control my own destiny. But guys, I'm going to give you a quick bit of advice. If you're trying to start a business because you don't want to have a boss, that's the wrong reason to start a business. So is if you want to make a lot of money. Those 2 reasons are the wrong reasons to start a business. The only reason you should start a business is because you're passionate about solving a problem that you've seen that exists. If you're passionate about solving the problem, money will come. I hope that makes sense. So Sandra, that answers your 2 questions. I hope that's okay. And guys, if I don't fully answer a question, please ask it again in the chat or something like that, and I'll build on it if we do have enough time. So we've got probably about another 10 to 15 minutes maximum, okay? Just letting you know time. So Hassan asked, what are your thoughts on fintech startups and their scalability in UK and globally? So Hassan, and on this answer to that question, right, I think all ideas can be a good idea, okay? And there's a lot of focus on tech, just tech in general, okay? So tech in general in the UK and globally. There's also quite a lot of focus on fintech, okay? But tech specifically, all right? So me personally, if you have the tech ability, so if you can create a tech or tech inspired idea, then at least you know if it gets good traction, it's good for scaling. And what I mean by that is, if you guys, just to kind of like break it down a little bit, if I start my water company and someone, obviously this is assuming that it goes well, guys. If I start my water company, in terms of like someone wanting to buy it, if it's worth, sorry, if I'm making, I don't know, I'm just going to keep the numbers simple. If I'm making $1 million in revenue, people would say that it's probably valued at about 4 times what you're making, or 3 times probably. So they might be willing to buy it off me for about 3 million. Okay. If I had a water tech company, for example, the valuations are just a little bit more exaggerated. So you could probably go up to like 7 times, 8 times valuation on a tech company. So Hassan, a quick answer to your question is, in terms of scalability, any idea scales very well and easily as long as it's well executed, but tech companies are able to get a better valuation. Hassan, I hope that answers your question. I can see another question in the main chat, but I'm going to answer a few questions in the Q&A section and then come back to main chat. So, what was my first success in my field? Do you know what? Retrospectively, looking back, I would say my first success was actually getting my first customer for my first business, if that makes any sense. So again, great questions, guys. I really appreciate all these. They're really good questions, actually. But again, they all could be long stories, but putting this story very short, when I started my childcare business, I made the biggest mistake that I try to train people not to make. So we started a childcare business, and on day 1, we didn't have any customers. Okay, so we're opening a physical premises with no customers. So think about that mentally. If you don't know us and you've got a young child and you bring that young child to our center, it's empty. So no one's hardly going to want to leave their business. Sorry, no one's going to want to leave their child in an empty play center. So what that taught me was, if you've got a physical location, you've got to have a few people signed up already before launch day, if that makes any sense, okay? So my first success was definitely when that first childcare customer signed up and said, yes, you know, we're happy to leave our child here. So I hope that makes sense, whoever asked that question. It was an anonymous attendee, okay? But since then, I've gone on to many successes. You know, I love the fact that I was on a government panel that was advising on entrepreneurship. I love the fact that I've, you know, grown a 6-figure business. I love the fact that I can work with other organizations to help them run entrepreneurship programs. So, you know, now I just love what I do. I love helping people. You know, I've still got a lot to do in my own business ventures, but, you know, it's a work of passion, if that makes any sense. Right. Do you have any plans for countries like Afghanistan? So, Amirullah, so in terms of me personally, again, I don't have any direct plans for countries. I'm just going to use Afghanistan because you said Afghanistan, okay? So using Afghanistan specifically, no, but I would love to be invited over to, you know, do some work in Afghanistan or any country really, because, you know, I've traveled across the world speaking about entrepreneurship, but me specifically, Amarula, no plans for Afghanistan, just because I've not been invited. And you know, as with most people, you know, very, very busy. But if I'm invited, or if I meet an entrepreneur from there, you know, that would be awesome. So I'm going to answer one more question from the Q&A, and then I'm going to answer any questions in the chat. So, Dwain, do you think it's necessary to have a degree? Oh, controversial. Very controversial. So, do I think it's necessary to have a degree to be a successful entrepreneur? I always hesitate. I get asked this a lot, and you must imagine I work at Kingston University, so it's a university, so it's a valid question. So I'll answer it this way. I think having a degree and going to university, the university experience is extremely beneficial, or could be extremely beneficial for someone considering starting a business. So when you think about university, right? No matter what subject you're studying, it gets you into a cadence of good research and presenting good arguments for you know, cases or coursework assignments, etc., etc., etc. Hope everybody would agree. Generally, no matter what subject you're doing, That's what university is about, okay? Good researched work. As a business owner, you should absolutely only be making decisions based on some level of metric or some level of research. So the two things kind of go hand in hand. When you go to university, you are immersed with a network of experts. So anyone studying at university level is already an expert in no matter what they're studying. So now you've got the opportunity. Imagine I'm studying marketing, for example, okay? Imagine I'm studying marketing, for example. I now, as a marketing student, I could work out how to find, for example, a graphic design student and say, hey, I've got this startup, but I need some co-founders. You're great at graphic design. Why don't we work together? What other place could you go where you've just got open access to thousands of experts? So, do you need a degree to be successful? I don't think it's necessary, but I think it could be extremely useful. I hope that answers the question fairly, okay? And I'm not just saying that because I'm at Kingston University. I would say that anyway, all right? So great, another great question. I'm just looking at timing. What time are we at? Okay, 46. So we go up, if the staff team don't mind, we'll go up to about 5 to, and I'll give about 5 minutes for close, okay? So it gives us 9 minutes, and that's good. Guys, keep your questions coming. I'm loving all these questions. So in what ways can we calculate risk? Great questions. Great question. I can't see your full name. I'm trying to. Okay. Amul Barnin. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. But apologies if I'm not pronouncing it right. So, in what way can we calculate risks? So, the best way to calculate entrepreneurship is all about de-risking situations. So, trying to take the risk out of situations. So, Amul Barnin, before, what I was talking about is not doing anything. Literally in the last question, as an entrepreneur, you shouldn't be doing anything without data. So Amul Barnin, before you make decisions, you should try to get as much data as you can around that decision. And Amul Barnin, just to be clarify, I'm a big talker of take action. Okay, so what I'm not saying is, if you're trying to, for example, I know this is a bit of a silly example, but let me give it. If you're trying to think of what color to use on your logo, I don't think that should take you more than an hour to decide. And that, even an hour is too long. You do a little bit of research on color psychology, and then you pick the color psychology, the color that from a psychological perspective represents what you're trying to achieve the best. And you just go with that. Or you go into your industry, say you're starting a flower shop, for example. You go and you Google flower shops and you see what common colors are coming up for other color shops. And maybe you just pick a similar color because people recognize and maybe link that color to color shops. So Amul Barnin, just to answer your question again quickly, you try and get data. So Amul Barnin, the more data you can get before you make a decision, the better. But at a startup stage, don't take too long getting that data together. Amul Barnin, I hope that answers your question. Right, again, guys, great questions. Please keep some questions going. We've got about 9 minutes. I'm going to speed up my answers just to get as much questions as we can answered. Right, so what advice do you have for entrepreneurs seeking investment or funding? The first thing you've got to do from a seeking funding perspective is make sure that there's validation for your idea. So use whatever resource you have now, okay? Use whatever resource you have now to test your idea. Even if it just means you're kind of going to do some surveys to get people to say they actually need this product or they would actually pay for this product or whatever it is. Whatever resource you have now, you have to use that to get your initial business going. Because funders will be like, well, how much money are you putting in yourself? That's sometimes one of the first questions. Second question is, well, why should we invest in this? What proof have you got that this is going to be a good business? And it's not good enough saying, well, this is fintech is a growing market. There's, the market's worth 2 billion. So if I can only get 1% of, no. You need to have spoken to your potential customer, and your potential customer has to have either tested something that you've got or given you a strong indication that they would buy from you. Okay, I'm going to try and give power answers to these questions now, just so I can get as much questions answered. Hope that answers your question. Why is the UK better for an entrepreneur? Oh, great question. To be honest with you, I've never said that the UK is better for an entrepreneur. And that's exactly how I'm going to answer the question. I've never said that the UK is better for an entrepreneur. You know, I think you can be, well, not I think, there's evidence, okay? So there's evidence that you could be a successful entrepreneur no matter where you are, okay? So just to give sort of like an example, there are people living in villages in Africa that entrepreneurship is the only reason that their family can survive. I hope that makes sense, okay? So there are people living in villages in Africa that entrepreneurship is the only reason why their family are surviving. So they may be making a low level of income, but if it wasn't for that and their entrepreneurial ways, they wouldn't have, you know, there would be nothing for their family, okay? So I think you can thrive as an entrepreneur anyway. Okay, obviously some economies are a little bit better. So for example, if you've got a tech idea and you could end up in Silicon Valley, your chances of funding might improve, but I don't necessarily think UK's, it depends on what we're comparing it with, is better for entrepreneurship. Please show me a way to make my business in Afghanistan. So Amirullah, like that's such a broad question, Amirullah. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type my email address in the chat. Okay, so this is my email address in the chat. So if there's any specific question that you've got that I can help with, Amarula, then you know that's my email address, and of course for anybody else, but it has to be very specific. Okay, so you know, please show me a way to make my business in Afghanistan. I would need a lot more. What business? What experience have you got? Etc. 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 What important is Kingston for a person, Latina? What important is Kingston University? So Camilla, again, our international students have a fantastic time at Kingston University. So the question would have to be a little bit more specific, okay? But of course, we'd welcome you. We'd love to see you at Kingston University. Be great to know what type of subject you might be interested in studying, all right? But again, I'm just gonna power answer that question just so I can move on to, I know there's a few more and I know there's a couple more in the chat as well. Sivlin, how do you navigate unexpected challenges or disruptions in the business environment? Sivlin, really good question. Okay, really good question, Sivlin. So, Sivlin, we cannot prepare for everything. That's all that I will say. Okay, we can't prepare for everything. But as long as I answered the question earlier, as long as you've made data, so as long as you've made data-backed decisions, then you will recover from anything, quite honestly. And second to that, you always put contingency in your planning. So things like COVID, okay, no one could have planned for COVID. It was so unexpected, right? So things like that are, you know, you just can't plan around, but you'd always put contingency into any planning that you've got. So contingency basically means what's your backup plan, all right? Just looking at timing, so about three, okay, I've not got that many more questions, good. So what is a good method to investigate and find solutions for one problem? How can we see a problem as an opportunity? At least one can give you the best advice for us. Good. So Elmezio, so in terms of problems, right? It's so interesting. Like if you speak to enough people around the problem, this is going to sound weird, right? But if you speak to enough people around the problem, they will give you the solution. The only challenge then becomes, can you resource that? Okay, can you resource that? So let me give you an example. Many of you in the chat have expressed, okay, you've expressed a desire maybe to start a business or go further in your business journey. Now, I know that depending on where you're from, depending on the background you've got, how can I put it? The ability that you have to start a business might be hindered a little bit based on just information, right? So I see that as a problem. There are 5,000 people that want to start a business, but 4,000 don't have the information that they need, for example. So what I then might do is I might create workshops that help people to get the information. And then what I need to do, Elmezio, is I need to go and look for who would pay me to deliver those workshops. So is it the audience, or is it maybe the government, or is it a corporate that would sponsor it? So Elmezio, in terms of investigating problems, once you investigate them, the solutions usually come from your investigation of the problem, okay? So that's how you'd see problem as an opportunity. So again, for example, you might be thinking, let me give you just one more example, and I need to, right, I'm gonna do two power answers to the last three questions. If you're thinking about access to clean water, all right, so I spoke about villages in Africa. So they might not have, the problem with them is access to clean water. Okay, so they can't get the clean water. So your job would be to, well, how can I use my resources to get access to more clean water? And again, who would pay me? Almezio, I hope that makes sense. Right, Paolo, do I need to have a team to start? If yes, how would I choose the members of my team? So Paolo, I think your chances of success increase if you've got a team. Okay, your chances of success increase if you've got a team. And I think as soon as you can, you should be looking for team members. And that's for everybody. Okay, that's for everybody. All right. And secondly, how do I choose my team members? So Paolo, you choose them slowly, but you get rid of them quickly. So using my silly example, I'm rubbish at graphic design. So I love people that can do graphic design. So if I see a good graphic designer, I'll say, hey, maybe you can join my team. This is what I can pay you, or this is what I can offer you. We see how it works out. And if their work helps me to get business, then I can give them more money, etc., etc., etc. If they don't do well, then I can get rid of them. Right, I'm 1 minute over. Okay, Paolo, I hope that makes sense as a quick answer. I'm going to answer Tanjid's question, and then I'm going to answer one more question that's from Taban. So Tanjid, what skills and qualities do you believe are crucial for the success of an entrepreneur? Tanjid, tenacity is the number one skill or quality that you need. You absolutely need to be tenacious. And tenacity means that you're not giving up and you're willing to work hard, because you've got to get used to people telling you no. As an entrepreneur or business person, you're going to hear way more no's, especially at the beginning, than you are going to hear yeses. Okay, so that's number one, tenacity. Number two, you've got to understand how to be a data-driven person. So you shouldn't be doing anything unless you can measure it. If you can't measure it, you shouldn't be doing it. So you need to transfer yourself into a data-driven person. Where can I get the data from? What can I be measuring? How can I improve it? Okay, Tanjid. And thirdly, lastly, maybe the most important, you can put them in whatever order you want. You have to be passionate about solving whatever problem it is that you started with. Don't think you want to do this to make a lot of money. Don't think you want to do this because you want to be your own boss. You only should be wanting to do it because you're passionate about solving whatever problem it is. The money comes as a result of that, as long as you're data-driven and as long as you're tenacious. Tanjid, very quick answer to Taban's question. Taban, what do you think about social enterprise in terms of not-profits as a solution to avoid depending on aids and donations only? So Taban, definitely. So Taban, I think if you can, so Taban, if you're thinking about a social enterprise, this is just general advice from me, Taban, but I would think start a for-profit organization. What organization could you start that makes loads of money? And then what you do is with your loads of money, you put it back into the cause that you originally wanted to help. I hope that makes sense, all right? But otherwise, Taban, in terms of social enterprise or not-for-profits, always good, because you can go out and look for support from government and agency to support the initiative. I hope that makes sense. God, that was after a slow start. There was loads of great questions there, guys. Guys, I wish I could stay for another half an hour and answer questions. I genuinely would, but I'm going to leave it there. I've left my email in the chat. So if anybody wants to reach out to me in terms of entrepreneurship and direct support or anything I can do, has to be very direct though, guys, so I can give quick answers. Please do reach out to me. So I'm going to pass back now to the team that are managing the website, just to close. Stefania, you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Okay, now, yeah, you can close the slides. And also, now we're done with the questions. So just a quick thanks again to you, Dwain, to be with us today. And thanks everyone to have joined us today, to have been so curious and responsive with all your questions. So I hope that today you learn a lot about this, and also that this masterclass help you to discover more about entrepreneurship and to start your own journey. So I'd like to remind you that you can contact the panelists, Dwain, in the email that you can find in the chat. And if you're interested in receive the certificate of attendance, I send it right now in the chat. So click the link And also, I just want to remind that we will share the recording with you in the following days. So please keep an eye on your email. And as a final thing, I would also ask to our panelists if you want to leave the final message before saying goodbye to our students. Otherwise, we can just say goodbye. So
Thank you guys, that was awesome.
Thank you to Dwain, and thanks again, everyone. So I hope to see you again in the next webinar. Have a good evening. Bye.